Celebrity astrology. My views are for entertainment purposes only. Everything presented here is shared in the spirit of love and meant only to increase the frequency of a celebrity's healing and transformation. My intention is to provide a mirror for the self through the study of astrology. Astrology gives us discrete patterns through which we can assess an individual's soul path. Celebrities are perfect case studies. Their public image, the archetypes they embody in the collective consciousness, are ideal guidelines in deconstructing an astrological persona. Celebrities are a necessary cipher for the culture. Celebrities are the lens through which the masses see themselves and receive programming. Celebrities speak to our values either directly or indirectly, and regardless of who or what made them famous. In the way celebrities hold the world in their hands, we hold them in our hands. It is our role to see them as objectively as possible. Through my celebrity readings, I hope to guide you on your own astrology journey. Remember to believe none of what you hear and only half of what you see. Your ability at discernment is yours alone to develop. With grace and gratitude, let's begin. Taylor Allison Swift, born December 13, 1989 at 5:17 a.m. in Reading, Pennsylvania. Taylor is a Sagittarius sun with a Cancer moon and Scorpio rising. She is perhaps the most famous person in the world. What does she look like at a soul level? She has Mars and Scorpio directly on her ascendant. This is going to leverage her Mars with an incredible finesse. She's going to definitely go after what she wants. Mars is a natural fit for Scorpio, being one of its co-rulers alongside Aries. Scorpio risings are very secretive by nature, very controlling of their image. They're going to be working more behind the scenes. However, with Taylor, her Mars is front and center on her ascendant, aligning it with her first appearance. That is to say, she is going to come off quite Martian, cunning, a good business person, and someone who is going to use whatever means and methods at her disposal to get what she wants. Scorpio is unyielding, and Mars in Scorpio especially so. Taylor relies on Martian magnetism to smolder and to attract through alchemy. Her eyes can appear snake-like, a visage that effectively aligns with her Reputation-era imagery. Alongside her Mars, she also has Pluto and Lilith in Scorpio, which we will get to later on. She has Sun in the first house. This makes her very good at being able to innately convey her own identity, given that the first house is connected to Aries, co-ruler of Mars and expression of the I Am principle. First house energy exalts the Sun, the identity, the solar principle of self. In Sagittarius, her Sun is vivacious, outgoing, and effortlessly able to place her front and center. In Taylor's second house, a money house, she's going to have Uranus, Mercury, Neptune, and Saturn, all in Capricorn. The second house is symbolically linked with Taurus and deals with values, pleasure, and physical assets. The stellium of Uranus, Mercury, Neptune, and Saturn, all in Capricorn, another money-oriented sign, alludes to the fact that Taylor comes from a banking elite. A New Yorker article written in 2011 details how her father is a descendant of 3 generations of bank presidents and is a stockbroker for Merrill Lynch. Later in the article, Taylor describes how, as a child, she envisioned following in those footsteps to become a financial advisor, an aim which, in many ways, she's achieved. She is able to harness the banking mindset running through her bloodline to guide and hone her brand. Her Capricorn stellium is in opposition to the Moon at 1 degree Cancer, Jupiter at 7 degrees Cancer, and Chiron at 15 degrees Cancer, all in the 8th house, associated with scorpionic themes of sex, death, rebirth, and melding of resources with others. These 3 planets in emotional, visceral Cancer, opposing her second house Capricorn planets, emphasizes a very interesting polarity. She is very good at leveraging other people's money, Scorpio, and other people's emotions, Cancer, in order to manifest things physically. I'm sensing a kind of mother wound with her Cancer Chiron placement, as Cancer embodies mother archetypes and one's origins. Chiron is the wounded healer who excessively provides that which he is lacking. Chiron in emotional Cancer seeks mothering and familial love. This planet near expansive Jupiter and the hidden inner world of the moon yields a powerful cocktail of energy that fuels Taylor's songwriting. I believe that there was probably emotional or psychological turmoil for her growing up. I can't begin to point to anything specific, but I believe that as a coping mechanism, she adopted an underdog archetype. Some of Taylor's most popular songs involve her painting herself as an every girl. Perhaps the most ubiquitous distillation of this is in You Belong With Me, with the line, "She's cheer captain and I'm on the bleachers." Not only is Taylor, for all intents and purposes, cheer captain, she grew up exceptionally wealthy, with the connections afforded by a banking dynasty. The New Yorker article details how, when Taylor was 14, her father relocated to Merrill Lynch's Nashville office in support of his daughter in her quest to break through in country music. He subsequently bought a piece of Big Machine, the label to which Taylor signed. We have to bear in mind that Taylor is an heiress in her own right. Though much of her success is her own doing, she is by no means an underdog or someone who is deprived or denied, at least where finances are concerned. The Moon-Jupiter conjunction in Cancer is very auspicious because the Moon is ruler of Cancer and Jupiter is exalted in Cancer. What this is going to say is that Taylor is able to facilitate an emotional intimacy of sorts with fans. She is able to go directly into the fandom and cultivate a feeling of connection. Celebrity idol worship reaches a unique apex with the Swifties, who are fiercely loyal to their queen. Taylor is adroit at harnessing the passion of her fanbase while stoking the flames of their parasocial obsession with her. Taylor has taken the machinery of celebrity culture to a singular height with her ability to invite fans into her emotional landscape and have them revel there indefinitely. This in and of itself is not a bad thing, but Taylor's Moon and Jupiter are betrayed by the excessive sentimentality and victimhood of Chiron and Cancer, in close proximity to their conjunction. The opposition of these three Cancer placements to the four Capricorn planets, particularly Neptune, which symbolizes illusion and the unconscious mind, magnetizes Taylor to project her emotional temperament outward. In this way, she allows fans to feel vindicated, portraying herself and those who listen to her as the target of someone else's bad blood. Justified or not in its rebukes of another, when one embodies Taylor's ethos, there is an assertion of, "Look what you made me do." There is a foe, an aggressor, and I am protecting myself by writing your name in the blank space of my emotional hit list. Taylor said in an interview for Blank Space that she was channeling a larger-than-life persona in the song, exaggerating the character of herself as a maniacal man-eater. The type of character she portrays in the video is an unhinged siren, someone who's dangerous, with a capacity for cruelty. Boys only want love if it's torture. Don't say, "I didn't warn ya." Though her music is not exclusively concerned with attacking a perceived other or enemy, we consistently see the narrative of a combative spirit citing self-defense, invoking an abnegation of responsibility, or casting diminishing remarks on someone's character. This clear trope in many of her signature songs dovetails interestingly with Taylor's propensity to flex her power when given the opportunity. An anecdote from the article details how in her sophomore year, Taylor bought a car with the money she'd earned from songwriting, a silver Lexus SC430 convertible. It was the car that Regina George drives in Mean Girls, she said, because all the girls back in Pennsylvania idolized her, and I think I just thought it would be fun to have that car. Why mention this at all? In her own way, Taylor embraces the love and revulsion people feel for Regina as part of her own brand. Envied and feared, Regina is Taylor's cautionary tale. Taylor's massive fan base, Jupiter, operates under the influence of psychological, moon, programming, Neptune, rendered by Taylor providing a degree of access, some simulacrum of accessibility. Because of her very complicated series of oppositions with the second and eighth houses, she's able to use the idea that we know her, that we understand her, that we are her, in order to launch and foster her brand and sustain her fiscal prowess. The avenue for this phenomenon of displaced identification occurs through her music. The Mercury-Neptune-Saturn conjunction is her songwriting. Mercury being the conscious mind, Neptune the unconscious mind, and Saturn discrete form. The subject matter is the emotional landscape, highlighted by the subjective nature of her Cancer moon, the abundance of her Cancer Jupiter, and the emotional pain of her Cancer Chiron. A quick astrological history lesson. Taylor is from the late 80s, early 90s generation colored by the great conjunction of Uranus and Neptune in Capricorn, an aspect which climaxed in 1993 and only happens once every 170 years. This conjunction in Capricorn is focused on digesting and internalizing the archetypes of the age. Capricorn is tradition and the metric by which societal success is measured. Capricorn rules the 10th house and the heights of one's professional stature. Uranus is a planet of rebellion. Here, in traditional Capricorn, Uranus is trying to rebel through internalizing and acclimating to the status quo, besting it at its own game, so to speak. Neptune is a planet of dissolution and seeing through the veil. Neptune in Capricorn is in its fall position, its most debilitated placement. Capricorn, though certainly psychic in its own right, is not about seeing through the veil. It is about being pragmatic and functional, not energetically porous. Neptune here has all the grandeur of the old world, of stately courts underpinned with a sense of it's always been done this way. With the millennium and 9/11, the old world vanished as a new world evolved in real time before our eyes. Those of us born around the Great Conjunction have the energy signature of the age of physical culture, even though we became products of a digital world. We were thrust into an unprecedented technological paradigm as we came of age alongside the internet, all the while unpacking the classic archetypes and standards that were embedded within us by previous generations. I think Taylor has very ancient understandings around money, success, celebrity, and what it means to climb a corporate ladder. This is further emphasized by Saturn, here in its domicile of Capricorn. Saturn wants to do things the right way, taking all necessary steps and precautions, being one's own taskmaster in the sense of embracing complex responsibilities, particularly with regards to achieving money and status. Taylor has adroitly met the metrics for success, from how she should look to how to address or not address political matters. She walks the line of being devoutly apolitical while brandishing the facade of standing for something. She plays the industry game with stealth, exerting immense control and never taking an unpopular stance that might limit the reach of her brand. This is also reflected in how she steadily developed her reach as a country musician before then segueing to full-on pop music, honing her identity and her financial acumen in a safe, specified lane before expanding to the next. Saturn and Neptune together yield a complex dichotomy because Neptune is boundarylessness and Saturn is total boundary. Aligning these planets with Mercury, planet of communication, further amplifies why songwriting has become the amorphous, boundaryless art that she gives rise to. Even Taylor herself, according to the interviewer who wrote the New Yorker article, refuses to defend her singing voice. She tells the interviewer, "I write songs, and my voice is just a way to get those lyrics across." It can be inferred that Taylor doesn't perceive her voice as a technical marvel, but rather a vehicle for the messages and feelings conveyed in her songs. It is the story Taylor sells and the persona she invites others to inhabit that keeps fans coming back for more. Taylor loves to externalize her inner world. One of her gifts is that she can take her emotions and paint them in a way others find accessible. She's capable of delivering catchy hooks, without doubt. Her music has been exported the world over. But for all those who adore her, there are many who do not identify with her point of view. What are their grievances with her artistry? Some posit that there is a pettiness in her perspective, finding her self-indulgent. Others may claim that her attempts at accessibility read as inauthentic or manipulative. The cloying nature of her Cancer stellium underscores why some believe her to be maudlin, an overly saccharine pop confection, like too much glitter, sticking to everything. Those more sympathetic have argued that the immaturity of Taylor's populist pop could be seen as deriving from a state of arrested development, synchronizing with her ascent to global superstardom as a teenager. Fame is a trauma that locks individuals into regressive patterns and behaviors. Being inundated with paparazzi and mobs must breed feelings of paranoia and being constantly on display. There is nothing normal about learning to cope with celebrity. Having her Capricorn planets opposing her Cancer Chiron, the wound in her emotions and family origins, suggests that Taylor pulls from emotional pain while unconsciously harnessing material for songwriting. This inner conflict finds outlet through her Mars rising coupled with her feisty Sagittarian sun. This combination makes her brazen, at times demonstrating little reserve when alluding to specific people, often former lovers. I won't detail an exhaustive list of the people she's dated or the people she's been upset with over the years. My goal is not to dissect these incidents, but rather to assess how Taylor has guided the evolution of her brand. In a monologue song written for her first time hosting Saturday Night Live, Taylor cheekily mocks this tendency as part of her public persona. I like writing songs about douchebags who cheat on me, but I'm not going to say that in my monologue. I like writing their names into songs so they're ashamed to go in public, but I'm not going to say that in my monologue. Played for laughs, Taylor makes like she's in on the joke. But are we? Whether justified or not, the retaliatory remarks Taylor relies on as a form of self-defense in her body of work are pervasive. Her history of using lyrics to go after real or imagined foes is ubiquitous, underscoring the Martian impetus to weaponize music. While I'm not insinuating she, or anyone for that matter, should welcome insults or mistreatment, should allow themselves to be slandered by being a complacent doormat, there is a difference between self-defense and shaming someone to exact a form of perceived revenge. I'll leave it to the viewers to decide if Taylor has crossed that line, but her astrology does suggest forms of aggression that she conceives of within the framework of self-protection and preservation. With Taylor's Mars rising, there is a masculine, at times aggressive warrior aura given off as her first impression, which is only further amplified by Scorpio's rulership of Mars. These attributes are underscored by Taylor's physical presence. She is nearly 6 feet tall, with very angular features that suggest a certain level of masculine energy. Her red lips and blonde hair aside, Taylor reads as very androgynous. Returning to her Pluto-Lilith conjunction in Scorpio, within 10 degrees of Mars on her ascendant, in her 12th house, we have to address the ego death she goes through on a cyclical basis as part of her karmic contract. Pluto-Lilith in the 12th house of Piscean undoing is already adept at alchemy. But the fact that this point squares the nodal axis, which defines Taylor's karma, impedes her need for transformation required for true soul growth. A square is one of the most charged, manifesting aspects in astrology, but its power resides in friction or the feeling of gears being ground. I think this square is directly linked to Taylor's exploration of self-undoing in her music. This specific theme is perfectly encapsulated in Antihero, a song riddled with seemingly paradoxical proclamations ranging from grandiosity to self-loathing. She flirts with self-awareness through the lines, "It's me, hi, I'm the problem, it's me." She emphasizes a desire for simultaneous ego worship and ego death with the cheeky refrain, It must be exhausting, always rooting for the antihero. She asks listeners, did you hear the covert narcissism I disguise as altruism, conjuring the facade her detractors lobby against her? She posits these claims ironically, one might imagine, but these lyrics allude to something profound in the battle she fights at the soul level. Why is Taylor the antihero who grows older but just never wiser? Why is she the monster on the hill? Taylor has reached a point in her career where the industry has deified her, with this colossal standing only further solidified by the imagery of her Eras tour. Different album cycles involve the adoption of specific performance alters, characters or personas that embrace unique themes in communicating an album's programming. Taylor's Eras tour coalesces all her various alter personas, crystallizing her elevated standing as a celebrity idol par excellence. At 33 years old, Taylor has become Time's Person of the Year because of her financial impact. She is unequivocally the queen of the industry, perhaps even its high priestess, whose success other artists can only dream of. And yet, amidst this kaleidoscope of alters, where's Taylor? With such a prominent Chiron trining over to her Pluto-Lilith conjunction, she is able to alchemize the wounds surrounding her feelings of belonging. She does so by rebirthing herself, Pluto, as different faces of Lilith, a female archetype that must transcend societal judgment while integrating the most heretical hidden parts of the self, the scorned facets of her womanhood. What Taylor's success says in regards to feminism and female entrepreneurship is a discourse in its own right. Suffice it to say that Taylor has become a ubiquitous presence on the world stage, a bona fide money-making phenomenon. Taylor's standing in the industry extends to her being showered with unprecedented accolades, among them 3 Grammy wins for Album of the Year. She is certain to sweep the upcoming awards circuit and win a 4th trophy in this category for Midnights. 4 Grammy wins for Album of the Year will make her the most lauded artist of this or any generation. This begs the question, is Taylor a true musical savant, a virtuoso whose talents surpass all others? Taylor's prodigious financial prowess makes her an easy figurehead for an industry struggling in the age of streaming. Perhaps Taylor is a financial advisor more than a musician after all. Making money is arguably her truest art form. Over the course of her storied career, it has been argued that several of her eras embody different facets of heretical female archetypes, hearkening back to Lilith. The serpent, the mean girl, the man-eater, the high priestess calling her believers to worship. Perhaps this element of her brand was less exaggerated during the nascent stages of her career as a country singer, when she was leaning into her appeal as a wholesome, innocent choice for younger audiences. Taylor's Lilith is now indelibly part of her persona. Even though Taylor would appear to check all the boxes of someone who has it all, she seems, like Lilith, to forever be searching for a reflection of her own understanding, that others express solidarity with her point of view. The question is, does this qualify as a form of covert narcissism or the expression of a legitimate emotional need? What is narcissism? In short, it's a mental health condition characterized by a lack of emotional empathy and accountability. It is accompanied by traits like haughtiness, facade management, blame shifting, and provoking others. If Taylor is the narcissist she describes herself as being an antihero, ironically or otherwise, I would imagine there is part of her emotional world that feels malformed, perhaps unable to process empathically, as wounded Chiron inflames her Jupiter-Moon conjunction. All 3 planets are in the Scorpionic 8th house of All's Fair and Love and War, lending even more Martian energy to her Scorpio placements and Scorpio rising. This is not to say she isn't generous or loyal. Scorpio and Cancer are fiercely devout, and I understand her as being very good to the people who align themselves with her cause. Through specific displays of generosity, she's able to manage her public image expertly. The Chiron, or chronic wound, amplifying the expansiveness of Jupiter and the emotional tides of the Cancer moon, likely suggests a tendency towards deflecting blame, while also emphasizing how Taylor is trying to work through a mother wound, and a wound around love or relationships dealing with some form of ego death. Again, this ego death is highlighted by frictional aspects from Taylor's Lilith-Pluto conjunction and Chiron placement to her North Node in Aquarius. With her South Node in Leo, she's had multiple past lives as the star and the center of attention. It was not hard for her to reanimate that karma in this lifetime. Given that she is now working into a lifetime of North Node in Aquarius, she is aspiring to be part of a collective humanity, trying to understand and intersect her identity with everyday peoples, even though there is ostensibly very little to connect her with that experience. Such an irony illuminates her approach to songwriting and the karma she is seeking to integrate. She has Venus at 1 degree of Aquarius in a very unstable aspect, the 150-degree quincunx, to her moon in Cancer. She likely has a very unconventional, Aquarius, love style, Venus, that is betrayed by the vicissitudes of her emotional inner world, Cancer moon. Again, I'm approaching this analysis as an outsider, only working with a peripheral understanding of her family history, her dating life, and her body of work. Given her chart, I wonder if she has ever dabbled in exploring relationships with women sexually. I get the feeling that intimate relationships with women would help her work through her mother wound and better facilitate her ego death process. She is always surrounded by women, her female posse becoming an integral element of her brand. This leads me to believe that Taylor's Lilith archetype is likely less volatile with women, allowing her greater clarity and objectivity. Taylor embodies the darker facets of Lilith when she is scorned, and her vengeance is deeply emotional. I believe partnership for her would be soothed by a woman's touch. For her, Lilith is inclined toward undoing the men she dates, rendering them song lyrics in magical incantations to be recited by her fans. The major challenge for Taylor's karmic destiny is her coping mechanism of portraying herself as the underdog. Taylor's shadow work involves recognizing tendencies that make her prone toward displays of bitterness and vengeance fueled by emotional volatility. Her North Node in Aquarius in the third house of communication and discourse wants her to reel in her larger-than-life emotions, forcing her to sit in dissociated reflection. Can she not play mind games, not manipulate subtly, not rely on hiding the truth in plain sight? One of the consistent through lines in her oeuvre is her capacity for critiquing others' behavior, begging the question, to what extent can she continuously play the role of unassuming victim? She's conquered the industry in a way no other performer could, but can she conquer herself? Instead of attributing blame to others, perhaps her attention is better placed on unpacking the spiritual and emotional framework of her psyche and her family origins. It's Taylor. That's the problem. And if so, what's the answer? Until she integrates higher octaves of forgiveness, she cannot resurrect through her eras into a logician, a humanitarian voice that represents the common folk, the aims aspired to by her Aquarian North Node. Though she may be trying, there's parts of her that stop herself at that last threshold. Her methods have proven so consistently successful, why should they be amended? She deflects and refrains from deconstructing her emotions, her lineage, her privilege, and her role in her own relationships. She is the cheerleader. She is the one in the spotlight. But is she any closer to feeling like she belongs? With concerts that have taken celebrity worship to astonishing heights, can she transmute an unparalleled global identity into something that propels humanity forward? Her place as one of the defining celebrities of our time speaks to our values. That so many of her songs are rebukes of others is a reflection of our own propensity to displace blame. We are a society that venerates the antihero. When we forgive others, we forgive ourselves. Getting the last word over someone or highlighting their faults for the sake of denying our own prevents us from evolving. Success for Taylor will look like a deeper degree of humility and accountability. I think from this vantage point she can begin writing truly transcendental songs. Thank you so much for listening. Tune in next time on Celebrity Astrology, where we deconstruct celebrity idols by studying the stars of the stars. Stay safe, and God bless.